A text field is a rectangular area on a screen in which the system displays text. Text fields contain labels for other elements. These labels are sometimes called keywords and are for display. The user cannot change these labels at runtime. Text fields are displayed in a fixed position on the screen.
Text fields can also contain lines, icons, and other static elements. They can contain any alphanumeric characters, but cannot begin with an underscore or a question mark. If you use text to label a radio button or checkbox, you can specify whether the label is at the left or right of the radio button or checkbox. If your text consists of more than one word, use underscore characters as separators. By using separators, the system recognizes that different words belong to a single text. The system interprets spaces as separators between two different text fields. You can translate text fields so that they appear in the user's logon language. To do this, choose Go to Translation in the Screen Painter.
You can create text fields in either of the following ways. Place a text field object in the work area and directly enter the text in the text attribute field in the layout editor. Use the accompanying text of a data element from the ABAP dictionary. Use fields from ABAP dictionary structures to display the data element and the template for the input or output fields on the screen. Status icons are special output fields that display icons. A status icon is a placeholder for an icon. Icons indicate a status in your application. You choose the relevant icon at runtime. The status icons are predefined in the system and have 2 to 4 characters. For information about the available icons, call Report Show Icon.
The system sets the attributes that cannot be changed. For example, output field and 2D display. The default data format is CHAR. However, you can change the visible length, bright, and invisible attributes of a status icon dynamically.
Status icon fields are defined in the graphical layout editor. A status icon field is an output field with an icon. It is used to display icons which are specified dynamically at runtime. To ensure that you can display a long quick info text, define the field with a defined length of 132 and visible length 2. In the ABAP program, you can define a field with the same name as in the screen icon field using the text component of the ABAP dictionary structure icons. At runtime, this field contains the name of the icon you want to display. At runtime, you can assign the required icon to this field using the Icon Create function module.
To fill a status icon, select the icon you want to display from the ABAP program. Before the screen is displayed, you need to find the technical name of the icon. To do this, call a module in the process before output or PBO event. Retrieve the technical name of an icon using the Icon Create function module. You must pass the name of the icon you want to display as well as the icon's display text to the function module. The function module returns the technical value of the status icon field. For further details about this function module, refer to its documentation. Group boxes enclose a selection of elements that belong together. For example, a group of fields or a radio button group. These are display elements that help the user identify which elements on the screen belong together in a group. You can use group boxes to make sure that all fields in a box have the same context menu assigned to them. Group boxes can also have a title. You can change the visible length and invisible attributes using the system table screen. A group box can also contain other screen elements. At runtime, if the box contains only invisible elements and the screen attribute runtime compression is selected, the box is not displayed.
You can define group boxes in the layout editor. The group box must have a name and may also have a heading. You can change the group box text dynamically. To do this, you need to activate the output attribute and create a global data field in the ABAP program with the same name. Because the screen painter and the program fields have the same names, any changes to the field contents are immediately visible on the screen.
An input field is a rectangular screen element where users enter data. An output field is a rectangular screen element where the system displays text or other data. Input and output fields are also known as templates. Input fields may have the following checks. Automatic field input checks. Automatic field input checks relate to their data type. For example, date fields allow you to enter a valid date only. Data consistency checks. Input fields that you create with reference to ABAP dictionary fields may have built-in data consistency checks, foreign key checks, and value sets. Input helps. Input fields may have possible value help.
You can temporarily change the object attributes marked in gray using the system table screen. It may not be possible to activate all possible combinations of attributes. This activation depends on the format of the input or output field. For example, you cannot activate the leading zeros attribute for a field with the data format CHAR because it is only relevant for numeric fields. You can create input or output fields in the following ways. By entering them directly in the layout editor, the number of underscore characters in the object text attribute determines the size of the field. For numeric values, you can specify a comma as a separator and a period as a decimal point. As the last character in the input or output field, you can enter V, which is a placeholder for a plus or minus sign. By using a template from the ABAP dictionary, choose Dictionary or Program fields. If you want to use the contents of an input or output field in your ABAP program, you must declare the field globally using the data or table statement. Drop-down boxes allow the user to choose an entry from a pull-down list containing possible entries. The user cannot enter values freely, but must choose a value from the list. If required, set the function code for selection. Similar to a menu entry, this function code triggers the process after input or PAI event. You can interpret the function code using the OK code field. Note that the visible length of the field determines the width of the field, including the drop-down button and the selection list. You must change the width of the field when converting to a drop-down box. The values are filled automatically using the help function assigned to the ABAP dictionary field. The ABAP dictionary field must have a help function, a check table with 2 columns, or a table of fixed value.
Radio buttons allow a user to choose only a single element from a group of fields. Checkboxes allow the user to choose one or more elements from a group of fields. With radio buttons, one selection disqualifies and deselects all other options in the group.
You must attach a name to checkboxes and radio buttons. In addition to the input or output field, you can display text and icons for them. The text is contained in the text field in the attributes. To display an icon, enter its name in the icon name attribute. A quick info for the icon then appears in the appropriate field. You can change the input and invisible attributes dynamically using the system table screen.
Checkboxes are created in the layout editor of the screen painter. To do this, choose the checkbox object from the object list, place it on the screen, and assign a name to each checkbox. In the ABAP program, create a field with the same name of type C and length 1. You can find out whether a user has selected a checkbox in the ABAP program by looking in the field contents. If a checkbox is not selected, its field value remains initial, that is default or previous value. You can assign a function code and a function type to a checkbox. When the user selects it, the process after input or PAI event is triggered and the function code is placed in the command field, that is, the OK code field. You can find out which radio button a user chose by looking in the field contents in the ABAP program. If a radio button is not selected, the field value remains initial. Assign a function code and function type to a radio button group. When the user selects one of the radio buttons, the process after input or PAI event is triggered and the function code is placed in the command field, that is, the OK code.
When selecting the field, depending on whether or not a function code is assigned to a checkbox or radio button, the system either triggers or does not trigger a PAI event. You can assign a function code to a radio button after you have defined a radio button group. The system will assign the same function code to all radio buttons in the group.
If a push button relates to a single field or a small group of fields, make sure that the push button is as close to them as possible. If the function relates to a group, make this clear by using a group box. If push buttons relate to a table displayed on the screen, place them underneath the table in a horizontal row, close together, with a blank line between them and the table. When the user chooses a push button, the system tells the program which function is chosen. At this point, control of the program passes back to a work process on the application server. which processes the process after input or PAI processing block.
Push buttons may contain text, that is, the text attribute or an icon or both. You can specify an icon either statically or dynamically by using the function module IconCreate. You can change the visible length, output field, and invisible attributes dynamically by using the system table screen. To change the text on a push button dynamically, perform the following steps. Set the output field attribute in the screen painter field to active. Create a global field with the same name in your ABAP program. Because the screen painter and the program fields have the same names, any changes to the field contents are immediately visible on the screen.
When a user chooses a function on the screen, the system places the corresponding function code into the OK code field. You can then query the field and use the result to trigger the appropriately coded processing block. If the user chooses a push button that has the function type space, the PAI event is processed. If the user chooses a push button that has the function type E, the system processes a module with the @exit command addition. This happens before the automatic field transport and the field input checks. The system places the function code that was triggered into the OK code field, which you can then query in the module. After the @exit command addition, the system continues processing the screen normally and then executes field input checks followed by PAI processing.